G'day legends, I hope that you're having a fantastic day. It's the start of the week here. I don't know when or where you'll be watching this, but I hope that you're so far having a fantastic week. Now, what we've seen over the past, say, 5 weeks is Russia opened 2 new axes, 2 new front lines in the Kharkiv Oblast. And one thing I've said since this really started till now is we've seen very, very little footage come out from the Russian side. We've got some Ukrainian drone stuff. We've got some photographs and some videos. But as far as from the Russian side, we haven't really seen anything in here. We know the fight in Vovchansk is really, really hot right now. So where exactly is this? This is Ukraine, the center, the capital of Kyiv. And then we come across to the east here, in between Belgorod, which is in Russia, and Kharkiv in Ukraine. These then 2 axes open up here. And from the footage we're going to watch today, you can just see the intensity of the urban battle. But we also need to talk about who these troops are, because from the gear, from the movement, we're looking at probably some special forces unit, but I want to talk more in depth on some potentials in here. So where we're going to come is straight down then into Vovchansk here. Now we're going to watch some of the footage. We'll start and stop, but if you just want to watch the whole thing through, go to the Telegram and watch it then there. But you can hear directly just how hectic all the firing and the urban battle is, and gives you a good idea for the complexities of urban fighting, as well as the destruction that happens to the urban environment. So let's have a look here, and I'll give you some geolocations throughout it as then we go. So this brick building, this is going to be our first location to just give us an idea of what's happening. But you can see as soon as they've moved out of that building, a huge uptick in the amount of machine gun fire. This fire will be covering these guys' movement because of where they're going out in the open to try and cover this. Now, the geolocations we're going to be working off, and some of the screenshots here are going to be off this guy, Mokhlasin, for where he's been put these locations where the Ukrainians are, where the Russians are, and where then these Russian soldiers are moving. So credit to him. Thank you to him for this. Now, this is geolocated then to here. Take notice just of this yellow-topped then building here. It will help us out. But this geolocation, this is where the Russians are ending up in these higher blocks. So as you can see in Vovchansk, that these blocks, these are your higher blocked buildings, and this is where the Russians are trying to defend and or break into. Now, let's have a look here, because as they're running, it'll give you an idea of where these soldiers are going. So we'll bring this up from Mokhlasin here. So you can see they've come out of this building here, which is this one right here. I'll draw this on. We get to where that where that brick structure is. Then you'll see them move through. Then where the sort of treed area is here, through a few fences, and then into then this higher block area here. Now, I'll just chuck this on Google Earth to give you a better idea of where we're going, and then I'll show you on the map of where the soldiers are. So they come then out of this building, they come straight across. This is the first area we're talking about, that brick area, then right here where you see. So across then the open car park here. Then you'll see them sort of get stuck in a fence line, then move straight down here through this green area, and then across to this destroyed building then here, and then of course the break in to the area. Now let's have a look then on the deep state. This is not the easiest thing to then get a hold of what's happening here, but this is why I told you, take notice of then the yellow topped building, where they're then trying to come from. So yellow top building, 1 street back, where they're coming out of is a building. This is this green area. So coming out of a building just about here, come across this green area, and then break into, this is where these high buildings are that you can just make out on this map. So that this should be, well, it's grey zone, Russian. It's very difficult to what should be contested versus what is held territory. And urban is very, very difficult to sort of get a grasp on this. But you can see that across from where they've come out of, you hear that machine gun fire pick up. Now, that will be in a few directions out here to try and then cover this movement. This map shows a dislocation of troops here, but their own map that the guy that Mokhlasin was using does not show then that dislocation, but they will be firing in the direction out to here to try and cover this movement of these soldiers. We get an idea, if we look then on the Suryak map, an idea of where this is and exactly then what is happening. So you're moving down just in this direction down in here. It's, again, incredibly hard to actually just make out where, but into area on his map as well, shown as contested or then Ukrainian controlled. So I think that gives us an idea of they're trying to come from here into then this building. Let's just step back a little bit. So through this tree that's down. And this outcoming and ingoing fire, you can also see where artillery and or grenades will be exploding. You can just see the complete destruction of this high building here, everything else around it. Remember, this is the building, but you can see the complete destruction of this building here as well as they've moved down. Come out onto the road here. This would be the pinching point. This would be the most dangerous area. You can see the destruction of this building from artillery or other fires. Now, this is the part that's interesting that I want to talk about right here, of this guy's gear and equipment. But what I want to talk about just before this is where the difference may be if, depending on which one you believe, if there's a dislocation here or not. Because if they've crossed this road and there could be straight fire down here, incredibly dangerous. But we look at, and trust me, it's dangerous either way, but it is different if we say that they've crossed into the building up here and there's still an area of Russian contested here. Of course, bullets will still fire through there, but it does change what is happening in here and what fire may be traveling the other way back down than the road. But let's open this up, and this is where we get an idea of who these guys may be. Firstly, stamina, the physical ability, this running across here, running with this much gear is incredibly hard. This is one of the first things that people have pointed at for these guys. But then we get this soldier here, as you know, he's got there first and he's guiding these guys in. Some of the equipment that then he actually has on. This is actually a good pause for us. But we can see right here, bit of a beard. He's got active hearing protection, a gun with a can on it, so suppressed. And two big things I'll say. This, to me, looks like a Crye Precision airframe helmet due to the two shells on it. Very expensive. And it looks as well, to me, to my eye, could be a Mystery Ranch pack as well. Very expensive. And people are pointing at this going, by the stamina of these guys, the outfit, the equipment, the beard, the active hearing protection, these are much, much better stuff. Could be some element of Russian Special Forces. Now, could they be part of Spetsnaz? Could they be GRU, of course, it's military intelligence? Or could they be, and I'll throw this in, could they be private? Now, what we know, Russia uses a lot of private military contractors, typically better paid, better outfitted. Another thing in this is we know that private contractors are working here because Coombe, who we interviewed on the podcast, who had served in some different private groups before, he was actually injured himself within Vovchansk on the early break-in. So we know that's operating in here, and these better outfitted than guys. And then we see him pop these off so he can hear probably some speaking better or just a comfort thing. And you can see those flashes of artillery and or bombs coming in from planes as these guys try then break into this building. You get a better idea here, better weapons or better cans on weapons, better fully multicam kit. And see it break into these high rise. You can hear both suppressed and machine gun fire. And then that is, you hear a bit of fire, nothing from the camera. So that's what we get. But that is really, for me, the first Russian GoPro footage we've actually seen operating in the center of Vovchansk, and may give us an idea of who exactly is actually working and fighting in here, the deployment of maybe contracting groups. We know some of those have been present, as well as potentially Russian SF to be a force multiplier for your regular infantry on the ground. We know Russia's doing this. This has worked in many conflicts before this as well for different armies, is to have your better trained guys mixed within regular infantry to be a force multiplier, to increase command and control on the ground and boost their experience up as well. But it's just interesting bit of footage we have seen, particularly, I guess, this screenshot of the amount of gear and the better operators that will be in here. You can tell the difference between what units guys may be from, purely from gear. You can tell that in Western armies as well. You can tell who's SAS and who's regular infantry too. And even just the physicality comes into this as well. So, look, that's just what I wanted to speak about quickly. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.